Today, I'm going to be taking your career growth questions, specifically, what's stalling your career? What's going on? Why do you think your career is broken? What kind of roadblock, problem, situation do you have going on? I'm taking those questions live today and answering them in real time. All you have to do is pop your question in the chat. My amazing teammates are here letting me know what those questions are. So when I'm not looking at the camera, I'm actually looking over here and reading your questions. So please get them in there. Also, don't forget, we love to know where you're dialing in from. It really helps us understand. So please make sure that you at least post in the comments what part of the world you are dialing in from. Also tell us, hey, what's your background? What industry are you in? What's your skill set, your job title? We want to know a little bit about the folks that are dialing in here as well, okay? But most importantly, today is a free-for-all. No special topic being discussed. I don't have any sort of little pre-set presentation to share with you. I am just here to answer your questions in real time. So what's going on? What kind of problems are you dealing with in your career? While I'm waiting for my very first question, I want to tell you that this week has been incredible. I've seen so much engagement and so much outreach from everybody, tons of LinkedIn love. So I wanted to thank all of you. Also let you know that I'm over on Instagram and TikTok. It's the same exact thing, it's j.t.o'donnell. Come follow me on Instagram and TikTok, where I'm dishing out advice and engaging with people there as well. If those are your social platforms, then I want to hang with you. So you'll see that kind of scrolling below. But mostly just thank you to everyone. Lots of messages, lots of questions. I think the most interesting question to me this week, the thing that I probably got in my inbox 3 to 5 times a day was, JT, I'm just stuck in my job search. It's like, 6 months and nothing's happening and I feel broken. And so to those people, I just want to say, and I messaged them all back too, but I just want to say, you got to stick with it. If you haven't been getting results, then it's time to learn new tactics. It's time to gain new perspective. It's time to gain new information, which is what you're doing when you come join me here live. Come here. It's free. This is a free thing that you can do to stay motivated, stay dialed in. If you even take away one new piece of information a day, this is what I mean about Work It Daily. This is why I believe in habits and every single day focusing on your career, not just in your job. If everyone just to peel off 10 minutes a day to step back and say, let me learn something new. Let me think about my career in a different way. You will grow, you will evolve, and you will get better results. But most of us aren't doing that. Most of us are just kind of plowing through our days, working in our jobs, negative mindset, feeling helpless, and not getting new information, new perspective, new resources, the things that I talked about earlier. So if you're one of those people, don't give up. Keep coming here. That's already a step in the right direction. But every single day, Work It Daily. Take 10 minutes to learn something new, to ponder something, to expand your knowledge around career, and you will see things get better, okay? So that's my overall advice there. But now we're going to get started. I'm going to see what questions I have here. It usually doesn't take too long for people to jump in here. So shout out to Janelle. Janelle says, how do you apply for work out of state, like California to Arizona? So this is actually another popular question we've been getting here on the show a lot. I am probably going to do an entire training session on this in one of our upcoming live streams. We have a YouTube video on long distance job search. So the simple answer here, folks, is that you can go over to YouTube, search long distance job search, JT O'Donnell, or Work It Daily, and you will find this video where I walk you through the steps. When you are looking for a job in another state or in another country, you have to have an entirely different job search, because you can't just apply online. First of all, if you're honest and say, well, I live here, but I want to work there, the ATS system is tossing you because your address is not local. So that nobody's even seeing it if you're applying online. If you try to go around the system and say, oh, I am there, and then they call you for an interview and you have to come clean that, you're 4 hours away or you're a plane ride away, you will get blacklisted. So you can't risk that either. So there has to be a transparent way for you to reach out to these employers and say, I'm not there yet, but I'm going to be there by this date. And that's why I'm creating a bucket list of employers and starting to do my research now, so that when I get there, hopefully my job search won't take as long. That is a truthful story. That is a valid reason for people at those companies to connect with you and have conversations with you. And then you have to build a strategy around that. You have to plan a trip there. You have to do some online networking to say, hey, I'm going to be in your area on this date. Can I bring you coffee? Can I come meet you? Can I come learn about the organization? You have to build a whole proactive outreach strategy that allows them to get to know you, so that when you get there, you could expedite the process. But also, if you follow these steps, you'll find that you can actually get them to interview you. And I'll tell you a little story about this because this is how I learned how to do this. This is a true story. This goes way, way back when my baby brother, he's 3.5 years younger than me, was in grad school in St. Louis, right? And we lived just outside of Boston. So he's in grad school in St. Louis. He calls me and he says, they told me that I have to have a summer internship. And I don't know what to do. He's like, it's January. He's like, I want to come home for the summer and work in Boston, but I'm here in St. Louis and I have no way, to get there. How am I going to find jobs or interview? And I said, all right, here's what you're going to do. You're going to make a list of all the companies that you would love to intern for as an MBA student in the Boston area based on what you're studying. You're going to find them, you're going to research them, you put the list together. And then once you tell me that list and why each company you're really excited about it, one Friday afternoon, you're going to get on the phone and start calling and asking to speak to the CEO of each place. And if you get the CEO, you're going to tell them who you are, you're an intern, and you really want to work for them, and here's why. And I said, and if you don't get them, you'll talk to their executive assistant and you'll say, can I speak to him? Here's my story. Here's why. And I said, and I want you to do that and call the entire list. My brother was horrified. He's like, are you nuts? I'm not going to humiliate myself and do that. That's absolutely crazy. He's like, no one's going to talk to me. He's like, I'm some MBA student. This is ridiculous. I'm not going to do it. I said, look, I'll bet you your entire cell phone bill for the month. Now you have to remember back then, folks, we didn't have unlimited plans. We didn't have data rates. Cell phones are a lot cheaper now than they were back then. I mean, cell phones back then when I made this deal, I easily could have been on the hook for like a $700 phone bill. No joke. And that's, many years ago. So when I said that, I go, I'll bet you your cell phone bill. Cause he's like, I'm going to have to make long distance calls on my cell phone. He's a poor college kid. He's whining about it. So I said, yeah, no, fine. Friday afternoon, I'll pay your cell phone bill if it doesn't work, if it bombs. But you need to try. I said, I'm going to tell you what to do. I'm the coach. I'm going to tell you what to do. I'm going to tell you what to say. And this is what you're going to do. So that Friday afternoon, it's like 4:30 in the afternoon. I see it's my brother calling. I pick up the phone and I just hear laughing on the other end of the line. My brother is laughing so hard. He can't even say hello. I said, what's going on? And he goes, oh my gosh. He goes, I started calling. He's like, I got through to 7 CEOs. I got 3 assistants. He said, I talked to all of them. And she's like, I've already got 3 interviews scheduled online with HR managers as a result of this. He's like, I've already got 3. So he's like, I can't believe it worked. I can't believe it worked. And I had said to him, now to offer to fly in on your March break to come interview with them in person, even offer to take your break and come in, which he did. He ended up getting 3 offers. He whittled it down to 2 and he took 1. He had this killer summer internship with this startup in Boston, so much so that they begged him to not go back to school that next semester. They actually paid for him to stay through the fall semester, push back going back to finish his MBA and help them with a major project. Then he went back to school and finished it, and now he owns his own company. But I just love that story because it's the classic example of somebody with no confidence doing a remote job search. And that was for an internship, right? Not even a full-time job, which I actually think is easier than the internship. So I tell you that long-winded story, Janelle. I tell everyone else that's listening here, long distance job search is a different set of tools. It's a different process, but it actually can be quite effective when you follow it. So check out that video and also stay tuned. I'm going to tell you a little bit more at the end here, how we're going to start letting you know what each of our shows of the week are going to be up. Because we had a lot of people say, JT, can you tell me what you're talking about every single day of the week so I know which days to tune in? Pretty soon, we're going to have a schedule for you. It'll be in my feed, and you'll be able to know when I'm going to be talking about that subject. Okay? Awesome. All right, let's talk to Marcella. Marcella says, how to land a job in this competitive market. I send out a lot of resumes and go to many job interviews and nothing, please help. So there's really 2 parts of the process there that are important to me. So as a career coach, I'm looking at your effectiveness in each part of it. And so you all need to know that your job search is like a funnel. So if I have any salespeople on the line here, you know about the sales funnel. And your job is to take a potential customer from being a total stranger, top of the funnel, putting them into the funnel, nurturing them through the funnel all the way through until they become a customer. Well, as a job seeker, you are a salesperson, you are a business of one, and your funnel is the employer trying to take them through, get them to nurture them through, get them to like you, get them to realize you're a match, and then offer you the job, right? So same sort of concept. So why am I explaining it this way? If we know that the classic sales funnel is the same funnel that a job seeker uses, then I, as a career coach and my team, we can look at each phase of the funnel because you need a certain set of skill sets in each of those phases. And we can look and understand what's going wrong. So I hear two different phases of the funnel here, Marcella, that you need to think about. The first one was I'm sending out a lot of resumes. And my guess is you're probably not hearing a lot back. You're sending out 100 resumes, maybe you're hearing from 3. That would absolutely be the industry average right now. If you're just sending out resumes, folks, you're essentially not looking for work because the applicant tracking systems, which should be called the applicant tossing systems, are removing you 97% of the time. Because we've created this automated system, we've made applying to jobs online so easy. Everybody does it. A lot of whom are not a fit for the job, but many who are. So it's much more competitive. So Marcella, you're essentially fishing. I want you to think about you and 50 other people sitting around a teeny tiny pond like this with your fishing rods in the water, and there's one fish. That's what you're doing when you're sending out resumes. You're casting your resume. You're like casting it into a pond that's this big with 50 other people. So that is a very demotivating, reactive, poor way to look for work. And it's not your fault. This is what everyone thinks they're supposed to do because we haven't been taught job search. So we just kind of look around and go, well, what is everybody else doing? Okay, well, I'll follow their lead. So the first thing you need to do, Marcella, is change that strategy. You need to get very intentional. Again, taking sales principles, which is exactly what we teach at Work It Daily. We've built an entire job search plan, videos, step by step of what to do. And you'll hear us talk about you being a business of one and building a marketing strategy for your business of one. And this is about identifying who is your ideal customer. Because you don't want to work for everyone. And you don't want to just keep blindly applying to companies and being rejected. Instead, you need to step back for a second and go, you know what? There's really only 30 or 50 companies in the commutable area for me that meet my criteria and hire for my skill set. Those are the companies I need to nurture a relationship with. This is the fundamental difference right there. Okay. Now, the second thing I heard you say is I'm getting interviews, but no offers. So this is where I start to ask myself, is she getting phone screens and not being called in for interviews? Is she going on the interview and after one interview, she's not being asked back? Is she getting all the way to the end and it's down to her and another candidate and she's not being selected? Each of those is very, very different because the further down the interview process you get, and I think this is so important for you all to know, the further down the interview process you get. So you pass the phone screen, maybe you pass the first in-person interview, you go back for a second interview or third, whatever. The further that you go, at the end, if you don't get the job, you didn't do anything wrong. The further down you go, the less the chances are you did anything wrong. It's just that there were 2 really good candidates. It's like having 2 green apples that look almost identical and having to pick one over the other and deciding, well, I guess I want this one because it's a little smaller and I'm not as hungry today. Or, this one's a little bit brighter green. When we get down to that final 2 candidates, either one of you can do the job. It's having to pick which one we think might do a little bit better job. Which one are we going to get a better return on our investment, even maybe by a little bit? It's not fun. We've hired a bunch here in the last year, and it always stinks because there's never just one clear candidate. There's usually multiples, and you have to decide. So when you get way down in the interview process, don't beat yourself up, folks. Cheer because you didn't do anything wrong. And even more so, you got that far. If another position comes up with that company, oh my gosh, you so want to stay in touch with them because they're going to hire you and skip the interviewing process altogether. I see that happen every day inside the Work It Daily program. Our folks get called back by a company that they were the runner-up at because they learned how to stay in touch with them. We teach them that. Now, let's go back and say top of the funnel. So you're getting phone screens, but you're not getting called to interviews. Something is definitely going wrong in your phone screen. You are at fault. I'm going to call it out there. Or you're getting the phone screen, but that you're showing up in person. Something's happening in that first in-person interview. And you're either too nervous or your answers are all over the board or you weren't prepared enough. Something is probably happening there for you not to move to that next level in those 2 cases. So you want to think about that, and you definitely want to do more interview prep. I am amazed at the number of people that don't understand how important it is to do interview prep. If you were in active job search mode right now, you should be studying interview prep like you wouldn't believe. You have to think about interview protocol. You have to think about behavioral questions and how to answer them correctly. You have to think about the questions you should be asking in the interview to make yourself stand out. You should be thinking about the questions that are totally off limits. So important. It's funny. We always do a master class in January, and now in Work It Daily, we do a master class every month. So the last 3 weeks of the month, we do a master class. You come in Monday through Friday, you do this little exercise, end of 3 weeks, you're upskilled, right? And we're doing interview prep right now. And this week, the head of coaching at Work It Daily and myself, we're talking about the questions that you do and don't ask. And it's amazing. People are always shocked. They're like, "Gosh, I didn't know I shouldn't ask that question." So, it's really, really important that you do this kind of homework. And I can't believe how many people are winging it. They're getting an interview and winging it. So, Marcella, there's probably some places within your process that need improvement. I've broken it down into two particular areas for you today. And remember, don't be hard on yourself. We weren't taught this in school. It's not out there. And for some weird reason, and I don't know why, but we have it in our heads that we're supposed to know how to do this career thing ourselves. Like there's something wrong with us if we get help with our career. That is just ridiculous. Use doctors, lawyers, dentists, accountants, personal trainers. Anytime in our life we want to get better at something, we go hire professionals. But for some reason, our career, where we spend a third of our lives and how we make our income and basically how it defines us as a person and whether or not we're happy, we think we're supposed to do on our own. And if we ask for help, there's something wrong with us. That's just ludicrous. So, my suggestion, Marcella, is that you are ready for some help. Get some help, have somebody look at your funnel and figure out where in that process you can make improvements. Little improvements across the board are going to get you the results you're looking for. Okay. Melanie. Hey, Melanie. Melanie says, I earned a bachelor's degree in health and wellness, but have been in an admin multiple industries for 25 years. I'm currently an activities manager at a healthcare facility. I'd like to get a telecommuting job, I'm as well as my husband. So I'm laughing because if I read that, it sounds like Melanie wants a telecommuting job and a husband. But I'm assuming what she's saying is that she wants her husband to get a telecommuting job too, right? Anyways, so Melanie, telecommuting jobs, everyone out there talking about telecommuting jobs. I mean, it's such a big trend these days. People want to work from home. It's not all it's cracked up to be, by the way. I like working from home some of the time, and I think it can be very useful, but I think it takes a special person to work from home all of the time. So my first advice to you, Melanie, is, are you 100% certain that you are suited for full-time telecommuting work? And so you can probably Google search that. There's probably a quiz out there these days that says, are you right for telecommuting? If you are, then you have to start to look at sources where they're offering that. So there are sites like upwork.com, freelance.com. There's also a site, flexjobs.com. Now, I know they charge a small fee every month to access them, but the flex jobs are definitely remote jobs. There's a site called remote.com. So a lot of people don't realize, in the same way that you go to Indeed or LinkedIn or Glassdoor or wherever to look at job postings in general, there are sites purely dedicated to freelance, remote type of jobs, and all those that I just mentioned are them. So I think you need to get on those sites, Melanie, and start looking at that. The other thing I will tell you is that a great way to create telecommuting jobs is to look at some of your former employers and think about a task that could be done remotely for them and go and pitch it to them. That's actually how I started my whole business. When I left corporate America in 2001, and I realized I wanted to become a career coach, and I was training and studying and getting certified. And then when I started my practice, obviously wasn't making any money in the beginning. So I supplemented it by being a consultant and working from home. And the way that I did that is I went back to two of my former employers and said, hey, I'm available for hire remotely. Do you have any contract work? This is what I want to be working on. And lo and behold, they both did. So tapping into former employers, you've been at it for 25 years, thinking of something, because they already know you. They know your experience. They know your work ethic. They know your capabilities. So selling them on the idea that you could do a job when you weren't in the room with them is going to be much easier than doing that to a stranger. So that's my advice. Go back to former employers. Definitely check out the websites. And then lastly, you can always make a bucket list of employers that you're really interested in working remote for and start the proactive outreach. Find people that work there, connect with them, see if they can get you in touch with HR, ask them if they have any telecommuting options or any roles that are telecommute, and what does it take to earn a job there. Do your due diligence, do your homework. Identify who you could work for and start to nurture those relationships. I will tell you, that is the fastest way to do this. So many people are waiting for the perfect job to be posted online. You're going to wait a really long time. And by the way, when it gets posted, it's too late, because thousands of people, if you think it's that awesome, so did 1,000 other people. You have got to go around the system. You've got to build the relationships and you got to be the first in the know. You got to hear about things on the early side. And that's how you do it with these different options. Okay. All right. Let's see. Um, Daniel says, how do you think recruiters can help motivate unemployed job seekers? So, recruiters have such a tough job right now. They get such a bad rap. They're slammed. They have more people applying than ever before, and everyone expects them to call them back and be at their beck and call. It's a really thankless job, recruiters. It's hard. Having been in the recruiting industry, I can tell you it is hard. And again, they get a bad rap. I see a lot of recruiters these days identifying resources that they trust and respect and recommending them to the unemployed worker. So obviously I was in recruiting a lot of years. I'm part of a couple of recruiting groups and I'm really lucky. Some of my good recruiting friends are very kind and recommend Work It Daily. They say, look, there's this website, it's free, go over there. They've got free videos. We've got an entire resource page. There's stuff that you can do over there that you can really start to learn. Recruiters also tend to recommend not just websites and resources, but if sometimes it's Instagram channels or YouTube channels where they know, hey, this unemployed person could listen to this free content and get motivation. You hear this all the time. You're the sum of the people you spend the most time with. It's true. Whoever you spend the most time with is dominating your thoughts. Their mental energy, their attitudes, their perceptions, their beliefs are influencing yours. When you're an unemployed person, the best thing you can do is create a group of people because it's very lonely, very, very lonely. Creating a group of virtual board of advisors, of virtual motivators is key. I often tell our club members who are between jobs, build an Instagram feed that is exclusively where you're only following motivational people in your space and sit and read that every day. Get rid of the Instagram feed where everyone's making you feel bad about yourself and instead build a custom Instagram feed where the only people in the feed are the people that are there to tell you what you need to hear to get you motivated. It works. Absolutely works. Build a podcast list, commit to a podcast every day or listen to YouTube videos every day. I mean, I listen to YouTube videos every day in the morning when I'm getting ready, from all sorts of people. If I was to give you a couple people right now that are probably up and comers that you may or may not know about. So the first one that comes to mind is obviously Gary Vee. Gary Vaynerchuk is really telling it from the heart these days, and to listen to him, that reality check is good and healthy and motivating. Another gal that's feels like she just came on the scene, but she's been busting at it for over a decade is Mel Robbins, and she's from the Boston area, so near and dear to my heart. Mel Robbins has her own show now, is doing an amazing job there. So those are two people right out of the gate. Rachel Hollis, if you're looking for someone in their 30s that is just crushing it, never went to college, built her own business online, incredibly inspiring, wrote some really fabulous book. Rachel Hollis, she's another one you should be following every day if you're between jobs. And then there's another guy on the scene that people are really falling in love with, Ed Mylett. So if you follow Ed, he's got just the biggest heart. And again, a lot of real honesty, love, motivation. Those four people, those two guys and those two girls, those four people are just delivering it in a way that I have such respect for and that can help you. So recruiters, you should be out there handpicking the people that would motivate these folks to stay in the game and keep at it and keep working because, unfortunately you can't work with everyone. And that's always so hard for recruiters. So I hope that helps. There are lots of other people. Feel free. In fact, everyone, let's do this right now. I named 4 people, right? Gary Vee, Mel Robbins, Rachel Hollis, Ed Mylett. Why don't you name somebody? Who's the most inspiring person right now on social media that you follow every day, right? Work It Daily, that is helping you shape your thoughts and your ideas, that's keeping you positive and motivated. Let's get a nice list going, all right? I want to see those in the chat. Awesome. Okay, let's see. Mike, shout out to Mike Marut. How do you handle overcoming a felony on your record that's over 10 years old? Oh, wow. I'm surprised I haven't gotten this question sooner, actually. I've been live streaming now for a couple weeks on LinkedIn and nobody has asked the record, the question. So let's talk about this, right? You get a felony, it's on your record. They're going to do a background check. They're going to see it. The old rule of thumb was that it comes off your record after 7 years, which it does. However, the internet has a much longer memory than 7 years. So folks, if you are convicted of a felony these days, if you've got something of a police record, it's out there and HR knows how to find it. They absolutely know how to find it. So I had somebody come to me recently and go, well, it's over 7 years old, JT. They're probably not going to catch it. So I'm not going to tell them about it. I'm like, oh, they're going to find it. They're going to find it. And when they find it in the last stage and they find out you didn't tell them, points off on you. And that's the point I want to make, Mike. I'm overcoming it isn't the right word. Working through it is the right phrase, the right thing that I want you to think about. All right. And so we have a specific course at Work at Daily called Fired to Hired. And this is where people have been fired or convicted of felonies. Something's gone on where they've had this really negative blip on their radar screen, their career radar screen, and they've got to overcome it. And we have you work through it. So first step is to come up with your explanation. And we use something called the Experience, Learn, and Grow model. So this is the one exercise, Mike, if this is for you or a friend or whoever else is out there that has a really bad blip on their screen, you need to sit down and say, here's the facts. Take all the emotion out of it. Here's the facts. Don't make excuses. Not that I think that you would, but just tell me the facts. What happened? What led up to it? What was the outcome? Then tell me, what did you learn? What has this very powerful experience taught you? Right? Because it's powerful. I'm not going to say negative because, if it hasn't killed you, then you can learn from it. And then how have you grown? So what are you going to take from this experience and do going forward to make sure that it doesn't happen again? So in the case of a felony, you're going to have to say, look, here was the situation that I was under. Here's what I did. I own it. I take responsibility for it. I was convicted of it. It was 10 years ago. Let me tell you what I learned. Boy, does it hurt you when you're looking for work. It is very hard to gain people's trust. It's very hard to get a job. This is what I've done over the last 10 years to try to build my reputation back up, to build people's trust up, to get my skills up. Here's where I am, and here's what I'm doing going forward. Here's how I'm making sure that this is so far behind in my rear view mirror and everyone else's that it's not an issue anymore. Okay. So they need to hear that. They need to know that you've mentally gone through the thought process. And I have to tell you folks, owning your stuff is huge. Trying to defend yourself, trying to push some of the blame on someone else throws all your credibility out the window. If you do not own something, if you don't say, I own it, it happened, I own it, there were other factors involved, but I own it, no one's going to trust you. And that's really hard because some people still haven't come to grips with it. And you have to own your stuff. This is an overall theme. I was actually thinking about writing for the column this weekend about how freeing it is to really own your stuff. And this was a lesson that was hard for me for many years, even as a business owner. I think I've only recently come into this after a set of life events, that just took me to the lowest place where I had to surrender to owning it. You just have to surrender to owning that you're trying to be perfect. I mean, who isn't? We're all trying to be perfect. We're all trying to do the right thing, right? We don't want to be wrong and we don't want to fail. I don't know a single person that's setting out intentionally to be wrong and fail and to hurt people. Okay. I mean, I'm sure there's some out there, but everyone that's on this call, you're generally trying to be a good and perfect person. You're striving every day. So it really hurts when we're not. And owning it is hard because if we own it, it implies we did something wrong, we failed, we made a mistake, and we don't like to do that. But I think owning our stuff is the best thing in the world. I own everything because if I own it, I can change the outcome. I can control it. If I don't own it, then I'm helpless. And I think there are so many people sitting out there today, whether you've got a felony or something else going on in your career, in your life, and somehow you've created a victim mentality. Somehow you've got a set of handcuffs on and you feel stuck and you think someone else has control over you. Something has control over you, that you don't own it. You own it, folks. We all own it. I 100% own it. And it's taught me that I'm not perfect and that I make mistakes. And the more I own it, the more power I give myself to fix things and to feel like I have control over the outcome. So just understand in these situations, you've got to own it. You got to own what happened, but then you've got to talk about if I own it, I can make it different. I can create a new outcome. I can make things better. And that's what the storyline has to be for the employer. Okay. Awesome. I hope that really helps. Let's see. Batter says, I'm switching fields. How can I sell my story during the interview? I am completely convinced about my story and career path, but the most important thing is convincing the recruiter. Yeah, that certainly is the case. Gosh, career change is such a hot topic. We're actually about to produce a masterclass on this. So when the career change masterclass comes out, I'll make sure that you guys can all see it. And hint, hint, follow me on Instagram, follow me on TikTok. We'll be announcing it there as well. And be sure to follow me here on LinkedIn. So you'll get first access, exclusive access to the Career Change Masterclass. But when you're switching fields and you're trying to convince a recruiter, the fact that you said convince is part of the problem. Recruiters have really strong BS meters. Recruiters don't like being told that you are something. You know, when you sit there and say, I'm ready and I can do this and I'm the best because, and you know, this transition makes sense and I know I can do this. They get it. They know you do, but they want to decide if you can do those things. So my advice to you is to not sell them, is to tell them your story. Use facts as a way to help them understand. So first of all, there's a reason you're making a career change. It's probably pretty significant. Otherwise, you'd keep doing what you were doing. So I want to hear that story first. I want to hear what was the pain point that got you out of inertia to make this big, bold decision to get out of your comfort zone and change careers, to disrupt your life and change careers. That's my first thing as a recruiter. Tell me that. Explain that. Then tell me how you identified what you're pivoting to next. What's the thought process? What kind of research and information and decision making went into this so that you're not just saying you're doing it at a whim? What is the data and the motivation that is convincing you that this is the move that you are going to make? Again, tell me the facts, right? Now tell me what you're looking for in an employer and why. So I want to understand why you think we're the right place for you to make that career pivot. And again, it's fact-based. You've done your homework. You've done your research. Why you think that you're going to be able to be most successful there. This is what I think. Notice the whole time you're saying, this is what I researched. This is what I believe. This is what I think, right? As opposed to here's why I'm this. Here's why you should think I'm this. Here's why I know I can do this. It's a different way of presenting, and something I've talked about repeatedly this week, by the way, if you've been to all my live streams, is about this concept of emotional intelligence and intellectual humility. These are the two biggest trends in personal branding for 2020, is making sure that you are regularly showcasing that you're emotionally aware of the situation, that you are sensitive to others, and that you have intellectual humility. So presenting yourself and not saying, yeah, I'm changing careers and I'm the best and you should hire me and here's why. That is intellectual superiority. That's cockiness. Intellectual humility is, well, here, let me tell you my story. Here's what happened that drove me to make the change. Here's the research I did that made me believe that this is the right change. And here's why I'm looking for very specific employers like yours, because I believe this is what's going to help me be successful. What do you think? What do you think of my process? Do you think I missed anything? What's your perspective? You're in the industry. You're in the career that I'm interested in. What do you think about my situation? Stop telling them and trying to sell them. Start asking them. Give them the information and ask them what they think and seek their advice about what it's going to take for you to make that transition. That makes the intellectual humility factor and the emotional intelligence factor in you really play up. And that is what's going to make you more attractive to recruiters. Okay? So you've really got to switch that up a bit. All right. Ooh, just taking a quick sip of tea here, folks. Okay. Rosa says, I've been using your strategies and the organization I want to work for is flying me across the country to interview. Woo! Nice job, Rosa. Heck yeah. That's what I want to hear. You guys know I'm trying to help 1 million people on LinkedIn this year. Rosa, you going to be one of my first ones? She said, I'll be interviewing 4 interview panels, 9 people in each panel. What is your best advice to not get mentally exhausted? Well, I don't know, Rosa, if I've got any advice. You're going to be mentally exhausted. Let's call it for what it is. All right. You're going to be tired when it's over, but a good tired. So I think the first thing that I want to understand here is the interview panels. Why did they break them up the way they did? Why is there 9 people on each one? And who's made up of each of these panels? So if you haven't asked already, you might want to say, very excited about this event and meeting with these panels. Would love to learn a little bit more about each panel. And is there a certain group of people in each panel? Are they all focused on a different aspect of the hiring process? Can you give me some sense so that I can prepare as needed, if possible? So you just want to ask. They may or may not be willing to tell you, but anytime you can get some insider information on that, that would be helpful. We have an entire video tutorial. When don't we, folks? We've been at this a long time. We have a video tutorial for everything at Work It Daily, no joke. But we have one on panel interviews. And one of the biggest tips of advice I can give you, Rosa, is that assume everybody on the panel is equal. Even if they get on the line and they're like, I'm the CFO, I'm the VP, and I'm the secretary. If it runs the gamut, every single person in that room is a VIP. You look and make eye contact with every single one, right? So when you're answering questions, make eye contact across every single one so they understand I am speaking to all of you. And whoever asks the question, please make sure that the majority of your response is at them. And then you can kind of look around and include everyone else. And I'll tell you why. A lot of people, once they hear that there's somebody higher up in the room, without even thinking about it, turn and address their answers to that person. I've seen this happen time and time again in interviews. So, you've got a director in the room and a VP in the room. The director asks the question and the person looks at the VP to answer it. So what you're doing is saying, okay, I'm trying to impress the highest level person in this room, and you're showing serious disrespect to the other people. Every single person in that room is an equal. Whoever asks the question is the person that you spend the most eye contact with, and then you give everyone else equal eye contact beyond that, okay? One of the best things I can advise you to do. The other thing that you need to understand, folks, in any interview, but particularly in a panel interview, is your goal, if you get to ask questions, is try to understand how this job that you are applying for directly impacts each person on the panel. Each person on the panel is a buyer of your services, and they have a different role. In fact, that's another session that I'm going to do with all of you, the 4 types of buyers. You all need to understand that when you go on an interview, different people have different roles. And if you understand what those roles are, you can actually be much more successful at making sure that you cover all your bases and meet with all the right people. But in this case, you need to ask each person, tell me how this job impacts your work, because you need to understand what you doing a good job looks like to them and how you can make their lives easier. And when you can speak to that, you're going to be their candidate. So when you start talking to the fact that this is how I can help you in this area, and this is how I would make life easier for you in this area, now you're talking their language, because the only reason they want to hire you is if you're going to make their job easier. That is the truth. Nobody wants to hire somebody that's going to make their job harder. Right? Our jobs are busy enough. So panel interview, be respectful of who asked the question, give eye contact to everyone, and always try to focus in on what they would need from you to make their lives easier. Those are some tips. There's certainly a lot more, but at least you're thinking. And if you need more help, we do have a panel interview video that you can get over at Work It Daily. Let's see. So Ren says, well, here's a question for you. Okay, Ren, bring it on. How do you deal with ageism? I go to job interviews, and during the interviews, yes, plural, I'll be told, yes, I have a job for you, but I'm not going to hire you. Okay, so ageism, tough issue. How far back should your resume go? So it looks like we're getting a lot of ageism questions here. Ooh, boy, here we go. So does ageism exist? Absolutely. I call it experience discrimination, because the truth is, it is because you have a lot of experience that you're being discriminated against. People just, it's just such an emotional hotbed to call it ageism, because people just get upset about age. Age is such a sensitive subject anyways, right? If you're too young, then you're upset that nobody's giving you respect because you're not old enough. If you're in the sweet spot of your career, somewhere in your late 30s or 40s, us Gen Xers, I'm on the very edge of Gen X, by the way. But I do like to say I'm a Gen Xer, not a boomer, but I'm on the very, very edge. And then boomers are all worried about being considered old, right? So everyone's worried about their age. We live in a culture that's so obsessed with age. So we call it ageism. Let's just forget that term for a second, okay? Because I think it's an emotional hot button. And everyone that hears it goes, yeah, ageism, guard up, it's their fault, blame. What did I say earlier today? Own your stuff, folks. Let's stop labeling it and being able to deflect it and say, it's not me, it's ageism. I'm going to stop that. Not that I'm saying that you're doing that, but you guys brought it up, so I'm going there. All right. It is not ageism. It is experience discrimination. Let's get objective and let's own it. Of course, you're dealing with it. You're older. You have experience. You also have very particular ways of doing things. You have very strong beliefs. You're proud of all that you've learned and accomplished in your life, and you want people to know it. Okay. That's a brand message. That's a brand message that you're giving to the world. So yes, people are looking at that brand message, and some of them are saying, I don't like it. That is what we're up against right now. If you are focused on getting a job and you feel like part of the problem is that you are being seen as older, then what can you do to change that? And I'm not saying dye your hair, or get a facelift. I'm talking about your brand, your personality, how you share your experience, how you talk to people. You may not realize it, but a lot of times it's your tone and your attitude in these interviews that they say, "Oh, you're overqualified. We have a job, but you're too overqualified," which is code for you're acting really uppity. You're acting like an intellectual superior. You're acting like a know-it-all. And we don't have room for that here at this company. And I know this is so hard for people to hear, and I'm probably going to lose a bunch of followers right now because what they really want me to do is agree with you. But I've also worked with literally thousands of people who have told me they have ageism and they end up getting a job. You know when they get a job? When they own it and they say, "Yeah, I am older." And it's very possible that I'm going into interviews with all this energy and enthusiasm because I want to show them that I can do everything because 20 years ago, I didn't know anything. And now I could do so much for them. 20 years ago, I can't believe how unvaluable I was. Now I'm valuable. I've got experience. I've got all this stuff. I'm valuable. Can't they see I'm valuable? And that's how you come across in the interview. You're pushing down their throat. Can't you see I'm valuable? You should give me respect. Look at how hard I've worked. Well, meanwhile, you're completely disrespecting the person in the room who's got the job. So what? So they don't deserve their job because they don't have as many years as you? And on top of that, this message of I know everything, I can do everything, so screams I'm going to be really high maintenance when I join the company because I'm going to want things done my way. I'm going to tell everybody what they're doing wrong. And here's a bunch of people that don't have as much experience. So last thing they want in the world is somebody in there telling them what they don't know and that they're not smart enough and that they don't have the same experience. So many people over the age of 40 are walking into interviews and don't even know they're giving off that vibe. And then they come back to me and they go, "Oh, well, they were clearly intimidated by my level of knowledge." Okay. Just listen to how that sounds. The higher up you go, the more years of experience you have, the greater amount of intellectual humility you need. The more humble you should be, the more grateful you should be, the more curious you should be, the more aware you should be that you really don't know it all. And that is completely counterintuitive. Because when we're scared and we're threatened and we don't want to fail and we go into an interview, our default mode is puff out the chest and talk about how awesome we are and sell, 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 sell. When in reality, what they're looking for is someone who's a good listener and someone who's a good collaborator and someone who's willing to share the knowledge that they have, but recognizes they don't have all the answers, and somebody who wants to be a great teammate. Please, folks, ageism these days is more about attitude and personality and unknowingly giving off a vibe. Because I know plenty of people in their 50s, in their 60s getting hired because people absolutely love the way that they interact with them. That's what's going on here. And let's talk about how boomers and millennials are at each other's throats right now. You know, you got OK Boomer, all this stuff going on, millennial snowflake. They created it. So folks, I'm sorry if you're in that category, you're in that category. I know you didn't say those things and you didn't do those things, but own it. It is what it is. I own it. I'm a boomer. I own it. I'm an older worker. I own it. I have a lot of experience. And now say, okay, let me think about my brand and how that's presenting. And when you start to change how you communicate, how you engage, everything shifts. Everything shifts. I know I told the story at some point, so I'm sorry, I'm going to repeat it, but I think it's such a beautiful example. I was working with a client. He was an older worker who had been in financial project management in the Boston area for many years. Okay. He got laid off and there was an opportunity. He said, I don't want to do financial anymore. I want to get into tech, right? I think IT project management is where it's at. Tech is the future. I want to break in. Now he's in his 50s, his late 50s, mind you. So he could have just gone in there and tried to sell everyone in IT. Like, look at me. I got, 25 years of financial project management experience. I can easily translate it over here. Give me a job, right? He didn't. He said, I think I should go take a IT project management class. Even though I've taken a ton of project management, I'm just going to take this class, really kind of learn the lingo, figure it out, and just start to meet people that are in the space and understand what they're looking for. So he, of course, he takes the class and he reaches out to me. He says, so my first night there, I'm the oldest guy in the room, obviously. I'm in my late 50s. Every other kid there, and he's like, I can say kid, is in their 20s. They're software program developers. They're at all these high-tech companies. They're in their 20s. They're really young. So he's a couple weeks into it, and I'm like, how's it going? He goes, it's really interesting. He's like, because, I don't know this space, so I'm really quiet. I'm just trying to learn from them. But when the professor starts asking questions about project management, he usually calls on me. I mean, I don't offer the info, but he usually calls me and says, what did you experience? Because I'm the only one in the room that's been in project management. So I just tell my experience. I said, well, this is what I experienced. I don't know if it's right for IT, but this is what we did. What do you guys think? And he's like, and then I try to ask them questions to try to figure it out. So you see how he stayed curious? He didn't get all cocky. He didn't share all his knowledge. He wasn't all proud. He's like, I'm not sure this is right, but I'm going to share what I did. A few weeks after that, he calls me. He's like, you are not going to believe this. I got a call out of the blue from a company asking me to come in and interview for an IT project management job. He's like, I didn't even apply. And I said, well, where'd you get my name? He goes, well, you're in class with 4 of my guys. I got like 4 guys in this program because my IT guys are young and they don't know anything. And I really need them to be better at project management. And we have this really urgent need right now. And all 4 of them recommended you because they said you're so cool to work with in class and that you're incredibly knowledgeable and that they really could see themselves working with you. And this is how he got into IT project management. No ageism there, right? So this was I kind of got into a big, you got me on the soapbox, but I am so passionate about this right now. I am so passionate about working with people in their 40s and 50s. We have them joining Work It Daily every day. I'm working with a whole bunch of executives right now. And, they come to me with this initial reaction of ageism, and I shut that down. Because if we're going to believe it's ageism, then we're going to believe we're a victim. And we've just made ourselves helpless. And I just don't believe it. You are not helpless. You are talented people. You have gained a lot of experience and knowledge, but also you have a lot more to learn. And you have an awesome opportunity to go out there and work with people younger than you who have great energy in companies that have great ideas and fresh perspectives. You got to change your outlook and you got to change your belief. It is not ageism, right? But you do need to own that you are older. And that's really the key difference. So, I can't believe you let me go off on that. My goodness. All right. Well, with that in mind, I'm going to wrap up for today. We'll end on that note. That was an awesome discussion. You know what I need right now from you. Okay. If you listen today, please, 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 what was the most helpful thing you heard today? What was the aha moment for you? Because that's what I'm all about. I want to light something up in your brain. I want to get you to look at something differently. When we get new ideas, when we get new perspective, when we get new information, we start to get different outcomes. That's what this show is all about. So I really hope I delivered on that today. I want to hear what you thought. Also, this is your opportunity. Tell my team right now, my teammates, what subjects do you want to hear? We're putting together a content calendar, and pretty soon you're going to know when all the shows are going to be and what the topics are going to be, and the best way for you to be able to follow them and also get the recordings, right? That's all going to be coming out soon. So please share your ideas. And also, of course, thank you for stopping by and taking time out on your Friday, right? You could be doing a million other things right now, but you chose to sit here and work on your career and listen to me. So thank you so much for that. I'm really happy to be connecting with you all. You know where to find me on LinkedIn. Please follow me on LinkedIn. That's how you get notifications when we go live. But also, I've got it right here, TikTok and Instagram. Let's connect, j.t.o'donnell. I'm over there. I would love to hang out with you all. Okay. All right, team. Well, listen, have a great weekend. As I always say, press play on life. Do not hold your happiness hostage. Maybe you don't like where your career is today. Maybe you're between jobs. Maybe there's stuff going on. I need you to refuel, recharge, rest up, press play on life, get out there, nurture the other areas of your life so that you can come back next week and we can crush it together. Okay. Awesome. All right, everyone. And lastly, if you need help, head on over to Work It Daily. We're the #1 career growth club. We are absolutely disrupting the career coaching industry. No more expensive career coaching sessions that are time consuming. You got to go meet the person. 24/7 access to the ultimate career growth platform, staffed by coaches, trained by me. Head on over, check it out. Most affordable career coaching you will find anywhere. I can say that proudly right now, anywhere. We would love to work with you. So go check us out. Okay. All right. That's all I got. I'll be back next week. Lots more content. Thank you guys. You're helping me deliver on my mission here on LinkedIn. 1 million people growing their careers in 2020. I will see you next week. Okay. All right, team. Bye-bye.